Hello folks, welcome back to SHU Outdoors, and today I'm going to share a prison horror story with you. Not necessarily a ghost story, but a true horror story nevertheless. This occurred when I was in United States Penitentiary Terre Haute, which is located in Terre Haute, Indiana. They have an old United States Penitentiary there that is now an FCI, and then they have a new, relatively new, I'd say it's about 18, 20 years old or so, a new model United States Penitentiary there also. So this story happened while I was in the SHU in the United States Penitentiary Terre Haute. Now, an interesting side note about that United States Penitentiary and the SHU itself, it also houses federal death row inmates. So that SHU is unique in a number of ways. One, it does house death row inmates, all the inmates sentenced to death in the federal system. And that SHU is 3 levels, where every other SHU in these United States, these new model United States penitentiaries, they have them all over the country. USP Canaan, USP Coleman 1 and 2, USP Terre Haute, USP Victorville, USP McQuarrie, USP Pollock, and there's about 7 or 8 more, and they're all built basically on the same model, and the SHU is 2 stories in every one of these other prisons. All the ones I've been to and all the ones I've heard about. I can definitely say that for sure. But that SHU is unique. It has a 3rd floor, and that's where they house federal death row inmates, on the 3rd floor. So you have 2 regular floors like you would in any other United States penitentiary. This story occurred while I was in the SHU and USP, United States Penitentiary Terre Haute. And what happened was, I had been in the SHU probably 2.5, 3 months at this point. And I was on a range. And this whole incident was like really, really wow, man. And so what happened was, a guy came into the range, and he was a white guy. And nobody really paid him that much attention. He was a black guy from Baltimore. I found all this out later on because I became his next door neighbor in another SHU, and that's a part of the story. So that's how I can give the backstory and the front story, like not knowing what's going on to like really understanding exactly the whole complete story, right? So this guy came on the range. He was a black guy from Baltimore. They put him in a cell by himself, and I never talked to him. I may have heard him talk a couple of times on the door, to other people who were shouting him out, but I never had reason to talk to him because he was down 3 or 4 cells from me, 5, 6 cells from me, on the what is referred to as the range. So time goes by, and I guess he had been on that range 2 or 3 weeks. Now he was actually, I come to find out later on, he was in what is called cell alone, rec alone, and they usually do that when you have viciously attacked another prisoner or a staff member. All right, so basically it's like no human contact for right now, and maybe that could change later on, but you're in the SHU, and you're held in the SHU by yourself in your own cell, and you go to rec by yourself in your own rec cell. And again, they can put you on this for a number of reasons, but it usually happens because of a violent incident. Now at the time, all this was unknown to me. I don't know what's going on with the dude, and I don't really care. But because I have a policy, if it ain't my business, I don't mind it. But what happened, and because dudes are always getting moved here and there and changing cellies, if it's not in your circle or your crew, you don't really pay attention too much to necessarily if a guy goes in another cell. It's just another daily occurrence in the hood in there, right? So I guess actually exactly what happened was this dude they had in Rec-A-Lone Cell-A-Lone, he convinced a guy across the range, across the hallway, because it's a hallway with cells on either side, and you can look from your cell into the cell directly across from you, and whatever is the little window space that you can see, and you can obviously look up and down the range a little bit, and the officer can just walk by, do a count, look through the thick plexiglass window that they have, make sure you're in the cell and you're still alive when he does count, and so on and so forth. So I guess this guy that was Rec-A-Lone Cell-A-Lone convinced this other guy who was probably having issues with his celly or whatever to move in with him. Now, he was on Rec-A-Lone Cell-A-Lone, but they don't really like to do that. The SHU lieutenant, you have a lieutenant that runs the SHU, and they really don't like to do that because it takes up a whole nother bunk. Because in the feds, everything is a two-man cell, whether if it's, and there may be a few narrow exceptions in like the old United States Penitentiary where some of the SHUs were one-man cells or something like that, but they done converted them to two-man cells too. So for all practical purposes, all federal prison cells are two-man cells, all right? And that occurs even in the SHU. So if you go to the SHU, they're going to put you in the cell with someone. It's possible you could go into a cell by yourself, but you will be getting a cellie in short order. That's just the way they do things, and they don't like when they have to Rec-A-Lone Cell-A-Lone somebody because, like I said, it takes up a whole nother, you got two bunks, only one can be occupied, so it limits their ability to bring people to the SHU and so on. So this guy convinces this other guy across the range to move into the cell with him, and the cops do it, and they weren't supposed to do that. Okay, so this guy moves into the cell with him, and he's over there for 2 or 3 days, and one day the officer walks by and says, "Yo, tell your cellie to stand up," because just a general rule, when they do the counting population, you have to be standing on your feet so they know you're alive. You're not, your cellie didn't unalive you or you didn't OD or whatever in your bunk. It's not just enough to see you in the bunk. They want you standing up, at least for like 2 main counts a day, So they want you standing up in your cell. Now, most of the time in the SHU, they'll just walk by and see you or count or whatever, and they'll keep it moving because in the SHU, it's not like you're coming and going. You're confined in a cell. A lot of people are sleeping. Some cops, some COs will make sure you're alive. They'll knock on the door. "Hey, tell your cellie to move." And some might not. But this guy was in the cell with this guy for about 2 or 3 days, and I guess officers had just been walking by and just assuming he was okay and doing the count or whatever they do. You know what I mean? So one day, an officer walked by and said, "Yo, your cellie's been sleeping all day. Tell him I want to see him move. Knock on his bunk, whatever. Or I'll cuff you up and come in there and see if he's okay." Cuff you up mean you got to cuff up, come out of the cell so they can check on this guy or whatever. So the dude the dude told the CO, Oh, he ain't gonna be standing up never again. That dude's dead. All right. Yeah, man. He had lured the dude. Now it turns out this dude was a total psychopath, mass murderer, just a maniac. He was on Rec-A-Lone Cell-A-Lone for a reason. They should have never put that guy in there. He lured him over there for the express purpose of unaliving him. He had been unalive for like 2 days. He might have made it for the first day, but then, shortly thereafter he moved in, the dude basically strangled him to death and put him in the bunk, covered him up like he was sleeping, was eating his chow and all that, all right, for 2 or 3 days until one officer come by who actually did his job. So it turned into this whole big thing. They covered all our windows up. They wanted to question us, it was like, I ain't got nothing to say. I don't have no idea what went on with that, man. I'm in a completely different cell way down here. I got no comment. You know what I mean? I have no idea. So they covered all our windows up. They had the coroner in there, all kind of stuff. So and I found this out later on, firsthand information, and I'll ease into that story. It's like a parallel story because I became neighbors with the guy who did the unaliving, not Sellies, neighbors. So, and you can talk through Vince, and he talked like a regular guy. Like you would never know he was just, until I got to talking to him. I knew what he did. I knew I was over here in this other hole, all right? So, yeah, man, he had carved like a big pentagram on his chest, and he with a razor that said, "Satan is here, Satan was here," pig pentagram. He basically lured the guy into the cell with the express intention of unaliving him. Yeah, so these are the type of things that could definitely happen to you in a place of horrors like that. And, you know, I know you have tough state joints, and very intelligent people in different state systems, but it's nothing like the United States federal penitentiary, because you don't just end up there because you are peeping Tom or you had like a couple ounces of grass. They send you to state prisons for that. So you have bicycle thieves, shoplifters, all kind of little low-level petty crimes in a state prison, and obviously you have more serious crimes too. So that's true. But if you find yourself in the United States penitentiary, it's because you were a bank robber or you were convicted of it. Serial killer going from state to state, pushing a whole bunch of drugs, big gang leaders, big RICO charges, all kind of stuff like that. So I'm not saying that makes a better, like one criminal is better than the other, but you just don't end up in a United States penitentiary because you stole a bicycle or you stole a moped or you had a couple of ounces of weed or a couple of grams of cocaine or something. I'm not saying things like that have never been known to happen, but, you know, unless it's on a federal reservation or federal property or something, you're probably never going to end up in the United States penitentiary. And that's also the last stop for the worst bunch in the federal system. So you can imagine what kind of people you're dealing with in there. Like I said, a lot of them dudes, I mean, are madmen on the loose, and you know, they probably, you know, I guess that's arguable, but in my opinion, they're madmen on the loose, and they have jails for a reason. And yeah, so anyway, time plays on, and this story goes on for a long time, and I have nothing to do with, don't even know nothing about it, don't care about it at all. But somehow this story keeps pulling me in. So what happens was, they get ready. I move from that range to another range about a month later with one of my homies over there, and then they get ready to ship me. So at that time, at Terre Haute, what they would do is if they got ready to ship you, you were on the shipping list to go to another jail because you've been in trouble or whatever. And Terre Haute, and this is kind of standard operating, but what they would do there is they would ship you to the FCI SHU. You're still in the SHU, but now you're just in the FCI, and this is like a prior USP, so it still kind of runs like a USP, but it's technically an FCI now, and they're right next to one another with a road running through them. So they just put you on a bus, ship you over there for a day or two till the bus comes and gets you, takes you to the airport, and puts you on a plane, takes you to Oklahoma City, and then you get dispersed wherever you go from there. So, so they get ready to ship me, and they ship me over to the FCI SHU, and that I got a cellie when I get over there. He's another white guy, and he was an all right guy. I think he's from Tennessee. So what happened was, right before they shipped me out of the actual USP SHU to the FCI SHU in Terre Haute, they gave me a TB shot. So in the melee of them switching me around, I get over to USP, I get over to the FCI SHU, and they never come and read my TB thing. You know, that little thing they give you where it boom and then it swells up or it doesn't. They give you that all the time in prison, every 6 months or a year or something. You have to take it too. If you don't, they'll lock you up because you could be contagious. Even though nobody's ever got that shit, they still put you through it, and you have to take the shit. Otherwise, you go into the hole and isolation. All right, because you could be contagious, right? So they never came and read my TB thing. And it was kind of in the back of my mind, but I was like, probably ain't a big deal. And the bus don't come for these transfers for every 2 weeks. So they bring people in every 2 weeks, collect whoever needs to leave, and put you in, and take you to the airport and put you on whatever planes you need to go wherever you're going. Oklahoma City, that's the next stop. Then you sit there and you go through whatever routine they want you to go through, and then a plane comes through that way and they'll take you to the East Coast, West Coast, wherever you're going, right? Or put you on a bus if it's within a couple hundred miles of Oklahoma City. So they ship me over there, and usually you stay over there 2 days until the bus comes to get you. So me and my cellie like, yeah, man, we're out of this shithole, because that was a real shithole, man. Horrible place, dark place, full of horrible energy, horrible people doing horrible things, ghost stories. We'll get into all of that as the channel keeps on winding. But anyway, I'm over there, and they put me in a cell that's next door to this black guy from Baltimore who did the actual unaliving. So I'm like, okay, well, it don't matter. But we kicked it a little bit, through the gate, because he shouted us out. Yeah, what's up? This is just a common thing in prison. You have neighbors who knows what they done did, but you're back there, you got nothing else to do, you just shoot the shit, whatever. So a couple of days go by. Early in the morning, they tell us at night, yeah, y'all both on the list, be ready to go like at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning when they come and round you up, put you on what they call the chain, put you on the bus, from the bus to the airport to the plane, and then they ship you, right? So comes next morning, the cop said, yo, and he comes back and tells me, yo, McManus, you're not on the list. You've been taken off the list. I said, man, what are you talking about, man? I want to get out of this shithole, because I know when I go to another jail, there's a good chance they'll put me out right away on the line, because my punishment's over. They're just shipping me out of this jail. You know what I mean? But anyway, they took me off the list. So now I'm stuck there for 2 more weeks. They had to give me another TB test, come and read it, all this bureaucratic nonsense. But that is what happened. So as this 2 weeks is unfolding, I got nothing else to do except talk to a guy on either side of me and maybe yell down the hall to some other people. They did come and give me my radio and a couple of little pieces of property I was allowed to have, so that was pretty cool. And I could see out the window over to the yard of the FCI, so I could see people walking around. I had been in the hole probably at this point about 4.5 months or so. They done decided they were going to ship me after the first month. So now I'm just there waiting for the paperwork to loop around so they can get ready to wherever they're going to send me. So I'm in the cell, and I get to talking to this dude, and he was like, yeah, man, I lured that dude in my cell just so I could unalive it, man. He said, I don't care what they do to me. I got like 3 or 4 life sentences, man. I'm gonna hurt and unalive as many people as I possibly can before they hopefully just put me on, death row and execute me, so I don't have to do the rest of my life in prison. And I tell you, I shit you not, this dude, he was a serious dude, and this is the crazy part. If you was talking to him through the vent, seemed like a regular guy you just run across in the yard in the USP. Dangerous, because he's there, so he definitely has the potential of being dangerous, but it didn't sound like, the way he talked didn't sound like he was any extra special dangerous guy. He was just very matter of factly, like he had unalived a whole bunch of people in Baltimore, then went to Washington, D.C., unalived 2 or 3 more people there. He had a little female co-D, a little white girl, female co-D. She ended up telling on him. She got off for like 5 years and 15 or 20 years probation, and he got like multiple life sentences. So that's what he's there for. And the reason why he was in the hole in Terre Haute, because when he left, because he got busted in D.C., so he had a DC number, but DC don't really like anybody who ain't from DC. They may tolerate certain people in the area, but he had gotten to a whole bunch of stuff in the DC holding jail and did a bunch of hold time, and because he was continuing to try to unalive as many people as he could. Then he went to Oklahoma City. They didn't put him in the hole. They let him go to a housing unit. He got to the housing unit. He got a razor, cut a guy's eye almost out. I'm sure he cut the guy's eye out. He might not have cut it out, but the eye was ruined and they had to take it out. So that's why he was on rec alone, cell alone when he got to Terre Haute. So they grabbed him up, put him in the hole, but instead of following the order that was in place, they put this guy in the cell with him. And his express intent was to get the guy in the cell with him and unalive him. And while he was in the shoe over in the over in the FCI terror hut, he faked like he was having a heart attack. Okay, he had a big knife. Okay, he faked like he was having a heart attack because he wanted the officers to come in the cell to try to give him CPR or whatever they was going to do, and he was going to try to stab 2 or 3, stab all them up. I mean, this guy was a madman on the loose, man. He wasn't on the loose no more. They had his ass locked up indefinitely. But I mean, he was just a total madman, right? Well, I was there. I was in the cell next to him when all this shit was happening. Him trying to get the officers to come in. He faked an attack one time, and you know, I had heard him talking about what he was going to do. I didn't think crazy. Whatever, ain't my business. I ain't minding it. But anyway, he tried to get the officers to come into his cell because he was in a cell by himself, and they wouldn't go for it. They were like, you know what, man, F you. If you having a heart attack, you having a heart attack. We're not coming in that cell. Turn over. Because he had the knife up under him, so they couldn't. Obviously, they'd start spraying him and shit if they knew he had a knife for sure. But they didn't know he had a knife for sure. But they suspected him of being up to something. I was there in the cell next door to him. They said, hey, man, if you having a heart attack, motherfucker, you shit out of luck. Because we ain't coming in that cell. Turn over. We want to see what the hell you got. Of course, he didn't turn over. Well, they was just like, heck with you, man, and left. He didn't have no heart attack. They didn't go in there, and that was the end of that. But he was trying to lure them into the cell. That is no bullshit right there. That is a true story. And if that ain't a horror story, I don't know what is, man. And then I get out of prison. I ain't seen this dude in 2 or 3 years. I ended up going wherever I'm going. I think they sent me to Victorville, but USP Victorville out in California. I haven't seen this dude. So many other crazy incidents have occurred. Occasionally I think about it, but you know, when I was in there, you know, it'd go through my mind, yeah, that dude was a maniac. But I'll tell you other stories about Victorville, something happened out there in another episode. But I get out of jail, was getting a process of rebuilding my life. They locked me up for a probation violation for smoking medical marijuana that I was doing legally in the state of Florida, right? Doctor's orders. The feds locked me back up for it and gave me a year and a day. But when they locked me back up, I guess that dude's attorney, the guy who did the unaliving, his attorney, because he was going to trial, he wasn't pleading guilty to nothing. Like I said, that was a waste of the taxpayers' money because he had already had 4 or 5 life sentences. I'm sure they said, we'll let you crop out the life sentence. You know, he was like, no, I want to go to trial, make him spend as much money, have a chance to do something else while they transporting him back and forth to trial. He didn't care about any kind of time they would give him. It was meaningless to him. So I'm chilling one day in the unit, and the CO comes in and says, hey, McManus, you got a legal call. I didn't know it could have been for my attorney or whatever, you know what I mean? So I go in, I take the call. It's this dude's attorney asking me would I be willing to testify for him. I said, homie, check this out, man. I don't know nothing about what happened there, man. I mean, this guy was in completely different sales. I have no idea. I can't be of use to him. I'm not interested in testifying for anyone. Please never call me back because I don't have any information that I could testify about. I'm not interested. You know, it's a thank you, okay, boom. I never heard no more about it. But yeah, man. And yeah, I mean, that's a real horror story, right? I mean, if that don't qualify for a horror story, I don't know what would. But yeah, and then I never heard no more about it. I don't never want to hear no more about it. But that is actually a true story. And I thought I'd share it with you here today, you know, on SHU Outdoor. If you haven't did it already, don't forget to like and subscribe. Really help the channel out there. If you have anybody you know who's interested in this kind of content, I'd appreciate if you share it with them. Let's get this channel up and percolating, man. We have a lot of really cool stories to share here on SHU Outdoors, and I want all you guys to be a part of it. Without you, the channel, what? It wouldn't be a channel. So It's very important. And even if I have 1 subscriber or 1,000,000 subscribers, every one of you guys mean the world to me, and I want you to know that. Thank you for that. And let's don't forget about the men and the women who are locked down in cold, dark, lonely places, who cannot do them for themselves. You have a lot of dirt bags in there who need to be in there, but you also have a lot of decent guys who made a mistake and they have to pay for what they did. But you can let them out right now and they never commit another crime. So this is who I'm shouting out, not the dirt bags who need to be in there. Stay up and stay at them.